everyone. Welcome, Auntie. I don't remember having met you, but I must have at some point. So this is, I don't know which number of Proud Depressive
14, Lisa. 14, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. And this is very close to my own heart because I have been thinking about these issues, and it's funny that it's quite strange that Lisa has asked me to moderate this one, and I'm quite interested in the subject. So the subject is coping with loneliness, myths and reality, and I kind of like the idea of myths because apart from the fact that I'm reading Joseph Campbell right now on his myths and stories and goddesses and the hero returns, I think there's a hero in all of us, and I think we are in that journey, on that journey where the hero returns to oneself, and the hero doesn't have to be a male. So it's all of us who are on this journey and struggling with all kinds of challenges in our lives, long-term and short-term and daily challenges. I'm very interested in the daily challenges. So today's speaker is Hemashri Hazarika Bora, who is a civil servant, a writer, and a lot more than just that. A woman with immense courage, inspiration, and an amazing person, and we'll hear more from her today. And we also have Dr. Sujata Borkakoti, psychiatrist and the founder of Ruhani, and we have had her before also, and there would be kind of a conversation between the two, and she could probably bring out the things that we all need to hear from Hemashri, and maybe we'll miss out because we'll get so involved in her story. And so the framework of the conversation would be, I would be the facilitator, try and keep the timings and look at the questions, and the conversation will be between Hemashri and Sujata. So welcome all of you. I'm so happy that we got some 15 or 20 here already, and welcome to the session. So I'll just hand it over to Sujata to start with. Is that okay, Sujata? Okay,
no. You will hand it over to Hemashri.
Okay, Hemashri, I hand it over to you.
I think audio.
You're muted, Hema.
Hemashri.
आप अभी भी muted हो.
Yeah. Am I audible now, please?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Hemashri here. First of all, I would like to convey my gratitude to the two wonderful ladies, my boss, beautiful boss, Archana Verma ma'am. It was destined that we should meet, and I met her right after a disastrous phase of my life. And thank you, Lija Pathak ma'am. Actually, I was feeling very reluctant to share my story because, as I say, just like any proud Indian, we love to hear the stories of others and love to keep our own stories guarded. It took some time to muster up the courage to sit here and share my story because I think now I can relate to it as just another story. My topic here is coping with loneliness, myths and reality. But before I speak on that, I think I have to introduce the topic by saying a little bit of the background, how my beautiful world crumbled and it led to a lonely journey. I was born in a middle-class educated family and joined the civil services at the age of 24, and after 3 years got married to this wonderful person, Polas Proting Bora. And I think that I had the most beautiful marriage, a very wonderful husband who was my friend, philosopher, guide, anchor, colleague, all rolled into one. We worked in different remote places of Assam and had 2 beautiful children, and we both considered that we were blessed in lives. Then suddenly, all of a sudden, things turned a disastrous turn. In the wee hours of 28th November, to be precise, in 2018, I found my husband sleeping next to me, was sweating profusely. And I just asked him what happened. He told me it's just minor muscular pain. But I am always a very health-conscious person, or so I think. Hence, I convinced him to go to a hospital. I took him to Apollo Guwahati. And series of investigations started. A healthy, active man, after a series of investigations that started with Delhi, led to a very devastating diagnosis on his 51st birthday, 6 December 2018, that it is cancer, metastatic cancer from an original source pancreas and spread to liver. I just can't express what I felt at that moment. As the doctor was telling us the report, there was constant calls in my husband's phone because our son was calling to inform us that he has been selected for national school games. That year, I had taken 1 year childcare leave for my daughter who was about to appear for her class 10 board exams. Without telling anyone, the confirmation came after an attempted surgery in Kokilaben Hospital, Mumbai. The doctor, I was just trying to pray but couldn't pray, and the doctor came out and told me, I just opened and closed him. It's gone. 3 to 6 months of survival at the max without treatment, and with treatment 1 year. My first instant reaction was why it was not me and him. I have no words to describe my feelings at that point of time. And because cancer was, as usual, it was a scary word for me, and I had never interacted with any cancer patient from close quarter. After the operation, we shifted to Assam Bhavan, Mumbai, and thanks to a senior colleague, Devashish Sharma, who is like a brother to me, he guided me all throughout, and our treatment started. It was very, very painful to see him suffer. My husband was the kindest of souls I have ever come across in my life. And it's not that I'm saying as his wife. It's really anyone who knew him would say that. Our treatment started. And for the first 3 months, my condition was really very bad. I couldn't eat and sleep, and I lost 18 kgs of weight. And things were really not okay. I went to a psychiatric and got mild sedatives so that I can sleep. And this led to a new journey in my life, a journey into lonelyhood. For 10 long months, we continued treatment, mostly in Mumbai. Once we tried to come back to Guwahati and start taking his chemos here, but he couldn't take the chemo. Instead, he had heart attack kind of a thing. So we rushed back to Mumbai. The day my daughter's board exam started, we went back to Mumbai, leaving her to our maid, and she took the exams all by herself. In September 2019, doctors in Tata Memorial, we had treatments in 5 hospitals in Mumbai for various reasons, radiation, chemotherapy, etc. In Tata Memorial, we were told that there is no more any treatment options for him. And all this while, I was going through medical journals. I joined global pancreatic cancer groups, started reading stories of miraculous recovery, and I started writing mails to several hospitals in USA, and finally got an invite from MD Anderson. And we met one of my friend, Anamika Tiwari, was with me. We met the then Honorable Health Minister and present Honorable Chief Minister, sir. And in a remarkable, outstanding gesture of kindness, for the first time, we were granted government advance to proceed to USA for his treatment. Also applied for visa, we got US visa, but also the tickets. As we are about to board the flight, suddenly his condition deteriorated. We had to admit him in a hospital in Guwahati, and finally on 24th November 2019, he left us to the land from where nobody returns. And another phase of my life started, widowhood. I actually have a great allergy to this word widow because I grew up watching one in my own family. My exceptionally beautiful grandmother, who was born and brought up in Shillong and belonged to a very enlightened family there, she had lost her father at 15 and she was married off, and at 35 she became a widow. She raised 3 girls, 3 daughters, my mother being her eldest daughter, and she lived after 94 years. As a child, I used to feel very rebellious. Why this lady never wears any colorful clothes? I always thought if my grandmother had died, I would have definitely had a few more uncles and aunts. But unfortunately, it is my grandpa who died. So here is a woman who always wears whites. So as a rebellious child, I always felt bad to see a widow, and somewhere it was a scary word. And whenever I used to meet someone in my office or anywhere, instantly I would be, I would try to help her out, go out of my way. It was this conditioning, this background of seeing us widow. And another thing I had noticed, whenever she prayed, my grandmother, she would say one thing, Prabhu Kunkale Loizwa, God take me at the earliest. So that gave me an inkling how much she loved her life. So widow was really a scary word, but nevertheless, destiny had it, and I am one now. So this journey is really very different. After his demise, I realized that there are many things which have remained all the same, right from the rituals. And I have always tried not to be very, assertive in some ways. For example, after my husband's death, there is a ritual where through his toe, my sindoor is wiped off. It felt bad, but much later, one day my son told me, Mama, when Dad died, I felt very bad. But when I saw them taking off your sindoor, I really got the shock of my life, and I realized, oh, my mother is a widow. These small little rituals, which probably we have been practicing for years, maybe it doesn't make a difference, but it really can shatter the mind of a young child, I realized. Widowhood is now I come to the main topic, loneliness. It is not a myth, it is a reality. When a woman loses her husband, loneliness is very natural. But then I think the degree and intensity of this loneliness will be different for different persons. Probably it will depend on the length and strength of the marriage. Since I was very strongly attached to my husband, for me it was very intense, indescribable. I used to feel numb. In fact, when the declaration of death came, I couldn't cry. I knew that I'm going to lose him, but I can't describe in words how I felt when they said that he is no more. Interestingly, here I would like to share another experience. I have this grateful lady assistant attached to me in my office. See, one day I was writing, or maybe I appeared a bit gloomy. She came to me and told me, Madam, I feel happier after the death of my husband. Why, he was so abusive. Every day I was beaten up. Every time I gave birth to a baby girl, I would be beaten up black and blue. Am I responsible for the gender of the child, ma'am? I delivered 4 daughters, and every time I faced so much. I'm happier, I'm at peace after his marriage. I got a shock of my life. I had no idea that someone can have that kind of experience also. But it gave me another perspective at widowhood. And I realized that the pain, the sorrow probably depends what we experience when he is around. Loneliness definitely is not a myth, it is a reality, and it will differ person to person what kind of marriage or relationship they had. Another thing, during this diagnosis, I realized I always used to joke with my husband, because my mother has been going through a series of ailments for the last 17 years, and I would always say to him, keep the health policy always up to date. My family heritage has sickness. When his diagnosis came, I found that his medical policy is no longer valid because after detection of diabetes, the insurer had refused to take premium. And we do a service where instant medical reimbursement facility is not there. So I was in a total mess. It was very sudden. That's why I discovered that I really lack a lot of skills, I would say. And for that, I myself to be responsible. In spite of being a working woman, just like any normal Indian family, since he was a very meticulous man, I had allowed him. He solely dealt with finance and insurance part of it. So suddenly I had to take over all this. So you can understand the pressure. Anxiety and panic attacks had become my constant companion during this 1 year tenure. But looking back, I feel happy that in spite of all this, I could stick to my duties. There were times in Mumbai, whenever I would see tall buildings, I had a desire, I would go and jump off. And then the next moment I would tell myself, this wonderful man has taken care of me for long 18 years and now it is my turn and I'm trying to escape. No, I can't do it. I will do my best. And then I try to motivate myself, imagining the faces of my innocent children. And looking back today, I feel that those were things. It will take time to heal, but yes, happy that I could stick to my work and we did the best treatment available. We tried our best. Now, widowhood, after his demise, I have tried to get in touch with several ladies that I look up to who have managed their lives very well in spite of losing their husband. I perceive them to be strong, the role model that we look up to. But talking to them, I have realized that widow is still a very inauspicious word. Strange but true. Because many of my educated friends narrated stories which is very difficult to believe. For example, this friend of mine who is a teacher in a reputed private school, she told me that she lives in a building where there are in-laws and some tenants also. In the morning, when she goes to terrace to dry out her clothes, if the man of these families see her, they again go back to home. That she felt that she is considered inauspicious in the morning hours. And in the next flat that she lives, the cousin got married very recently. Everybody were invited. She had purchased a gift 2 months prior to the wedding, and she was not invited. Her young daughter is a friend of my daughter. Her daughter questioned her, Mama, why we are not being invited? Then she said, maybe because I remain busy with online classes. Her daughter told, no, you are trying to hide. You are not invited because you are a widow and you are considered inauspicious. And now promise me that never in your life you will go to this home. She stopped going to the next door relative's place and she told me that after 4 or 5 months they came down to her place and apologized. So what I mean to say that those stories that we used to see in serials are actually not imaginary things. Our state, our community, Assamese community is considered very progressive, and in fact, I take pride on that. That ours is a progressive society, but even then, the stigma with the word widow is not totally, history. Remnants of it is still there. There is another beautiful friend of mine. I'm narrating this because these are not myths. This friend of mine, she was my childhood role model. Most beautiful girl of my class and a brilliant student. 3 years after her marriage, her husband was diagnosed with blood cancer and she lost him when she was around 31 years. she has confided in me that in the weddings of her family, just to avoid her, relatives would give the timings very confused in a confusing manner. We have a ritual, we call it Pani Tula. The ladies goes to the river or a pond and drink water, and then this is used for the purpose. Just so that she cannot join, their family members would tell it, oh, we will do it at 8 a.m., then they will conduct it at 6. So a widow, in different ways, she is meant to feel that just because your husband is not there, you are not welcomed in certain functions. So I would say these are not neat. Of course, I mean to say, there may be families which have accepted it very well, but these are things endured by educated, accomplished ladies. So these actually make you feel very awkward. And well, I have also been thinking that whenever I have occasions like where I would make to feel that I'm not welcome, it is better to avoid such events. Trying to develop strategy like that. Immediately after, the first event that I organized after his demise was the monthly Shraddha ceremony. That was an event that I tried to get back to life, to resume normalcy, because I organized the event where we invited around 100, 150 people with generous support from my brother. My brother-in-law and my cousin sister-in-law, along with some friends and even ACS colleagues, they have been a great source of support to me. In fact, some of my colleagues organized funding for me, led by my batchmate Anamika Tiwari and another gentleman, Bibhas Modi sir. These were really, at that point of time, there was hesitation actually. The ego or self-respect or whatever, it refused to take the money. But the situation was such that immediately you need to mobilize funds. I did accept my friends' blessings. This event, after that Shraddha day, I felt so nervous till the last guest departs, because everything of this kind was always organized by him, and I used to have the masti. So first time I realized, oh, now I have to do all this by myself. Another thing that I did immediately after the Shraddha ceremony, I started driving. My friend Anamika Tiwari and another colleague Kaveri Baido told me that you now have to be on your own. And I also realized that I want to be mobile. I have to reduce my dependency. And I started driving under an expert trainer. And during this lockdown time, I made the best use of it. Renewed my license. These were activities, small little goals, but it instilled my confidence. The second thing that I started during this period was to organize my papers to get his dues from insurance companies and government offices. During this time, I realized that in spite of being an officer, I really had to go through a very cumbersome process. In fact, this is something I am narrating. I have no grudge against anyone. Whether it is rules or whether it is attitude, I don't know. After 1 year of his death, I received a letter from one of his batchmates asking for a genuineness certificate of his cancer. I wrote a befitting reply, and I have no regrets for writing this. I have kept it. I am a nobody, I can't change system, but it has given me a lesson to be more empathetic, to read my papers properly. And then when I found, after writing this letter, the sanction order was given in the name of my deceased husband, I was really, really very disappointed. And I have told to myself, these are lessons that I have to take and be more empathetic and to serve with love. Finally, I have been able to take care of the dues, although it took time, and I have tried to learn new skill. Earlier, although I am ashamed to say, although I am first class postgraduate in economics, I didn't enjoy submitting papers to the CA, seeing these documents, asset and liability and all that, and I would conveniently tell him, do this. And he is also the one who would only give me the only financial thing he would tell me, sign this. I said, you build up my capacity. He says, have trust, and he would show me a diary. Everything is there. And such a surprise. After his death, when I opened the diary, I saw there are phone numbers where he has written, in case of emergency, call this. Thankfully, so I could take over these responsibilities. And as I started working more, I started gaining confidence that, okay, I can survive. This journey I have accepted as another phase of life. Loneliness and sadness would be part of this journey. How do I handle it? It will be on me, how I work on it. And talking to these ladies, I have found every journey is unique. Every lady has taken their own strategy. Someone has started voluntary work. Someone has devoted to a cause. There are many who have not been able to revive themselves. They are a totally different version. I can't relate to the earlier version of them. So, this is not a myth, it is reality. Then I come to another issue which really bothers me a lot. I feel society is still in such stage that their attitude towards a widow and the widower are totally different. There is huge discrimination. One of my friends, Sapna Das Bora, I am quoting all these real names with their due permission. She is a principal in Biswanath Chariali Higher Secondary School. She lost her husband to a heart attack. Her son is specially a special child. She has a special child. Just like me, she also gets generous doses of advice how to lead life during widowhood. Read Gita, go to ashram, be spiritual, be bold, etc., etc. Recently, she lost her cousin sister who lives in her neighborhood. After 2 hours of getting the news, she reached her home, her cousin sister's home. And at that time, the family members who had taken the body for cremation had not yet returned. And she was shocked that the family elders were discussing what to do for the husband. Now, though, he cannot live his life all alone, so we have to look for a suitable match. And she was thinking that the fire of the pyre is not yet extinguished. Here the discussion starts. So this is kind of a discrimination, you see. What I mean to say, a husband and wife are like 2 pillars of a family. Just like a bicycle has 2 wheels, if we take off one, the cycle with 1 wheel, you don't have problem. It can't operate like before. And it doesn't matter whether the front wheel or the back wheel you take away. Similarly, a person walking with 2 feet, if his 1 foot is amputated, it doesn't matter whether the right foot or the left foot. I want to say that losing a spouse is a devastating experience, whether it is a man or a woman. But when the man loses, generally I have felt there is huge sympathy. The entire clan gangs up to plan and think how he will manage everything on his own. Okay? But a woman never dares to say that she feels lonely. I look up to this lady who is a highly accomplished woman. Salute to her. She has raised 2 wonderful children who are doing very well in their career. She has been taking sedatives, sleeping tablets for last 19 years. See, I know she feels very lonely. I know many others who have problems, who need emotional support. But a woman admitting that I feel lonely has mighty danger of creating scandal, I feel. This is the real face of widow and widowhood. I don't know what can we do about it. But this is something I feel very rebellious about. I won't say that I won't say that things would change overnight, but this is what is the reality I have observed. Very recently, I attended an event where this statement comes from a man, a wonderful person. He is a very prominent thinker and writer, Mayur Bora. That function was organized to celebrate motherhood. Mayur Bora said something interesting which I kept on thinking for several days. He said that women in India are always kept in a pedestal. She is either somebody's mother or daughter or wife. She is hardly acknowledged to be a human first or a person first. And this limits her. I believe we women need to understand it for ourselves that before being a mother or wife or somebody, first I am me, I am a human, and I may experience a variety of emotions. I should not feel guilty about it. I should allow myself to feel those emotions. These ladies I have often seen, they maintain a brave face. They wear colorful clothes, unlike the widows of yesteryears. But when I look at their eyes, I could see shadow of pain and sadness. Just wearing colorful clothes will not help. It must come from within. I feel cancer has taught me many things. I feel there is no need for a woman to prove all the time that I am strong, I am an iron lady. For me, a strong woman is one who dares to be authentic. If I feel like crying, I will cry. If I need help, I will seek help. Let's not try to live pretentious life. This will not give us inner peace. It will challenge our mental health. This much I can say, enduring this struggle of cancer and loss. Now comes another myth, that is isolation, whether widows feel isolated. I have already narrated about certain events or functions. I think it is not a myth, it is a reality. Because in Indian tradition, what happens? We come to another family after marriage. We spend great deal of time with his family, his friends, his acquaintances. And what happens after sudden death of the man or the husband? In many families, I have seen that these people gradually withdraw themselves or their presence becomes thinner. So this obviously creates a kind of isolation. In my home also, after his demise, lockdown and other things happened, but I saw many regular visitors who were his friends, our mutual friends. They have never even sent an SMS to inquire how we are doing. I'm not expecting. It is a good thing actually. The best part of this is that this experience makes us realize who are the real, genuine people in our life. I believe life is like a river. It flows on. When the river flows on, it leaves behind some pebbles. And in life, we leave behind some people to meet new friends, new acquaintances. But it does create a vacuum. So I feel the strategy that I have decided is to reach out to people, new friends, maybe women who have gone through my kind of experience, or my old childhood friends, because I have noticed another interesting thing. I say that some relationships have collapsed, but then to rescue me from this pain of loneliness, some boats have emerged. My long lost friends, with whom I am not in touch for 20 years, called me up and insisted that I must go for heartful meditation. So there is always some way or the other that the loss gets compensated, or we can always create a new support system for us. That is what I would like to tell my other friends, if they are there attending this talk, that no point of lamenting for people who have forgotten us. In a new phase of life we can always create. And why do we need a lot of people? Just a few good, loyal friends would do. Time to welcome to you, Udaya Saprabhas, after becoming a single woman. So, outdated belief system still exists. This is not a myth, this is a reality. After narrating all this story, all I can say for myself is that I would like to say that life cannot end here. I can't afford to get stuck up with this unfortunate episode of my life. Life must go on, the soul must go on. Our children, thankfully, has handled this entire crisis very gracefully and has given strength to me also. Our daughter, the day she started her board exams, we went back to Mumbai. At that point of time, I was trying to contact a hospital in Singapore to take my husband for further treatment, and I was writing mails. But unfortunately, I forgot to close the mailbox, and my daughter read it, and she made a video call to us in Mumbai and started crying like anything. She was the one who was deeply attached to her father. So, Cyril, we had tough time handling her emotions. But thankfully, she passed her class 10 board exams, class 12 board exams, and she wanted to do a 5-year law course. She has been selected to several Symbiosis campuses and has taken admission in Symbiosis Hyderabad for her 5-year law course. Our son, who is very interested to take up sports as his career, since I'm not a sports person, I don't know what it exactly means. He also passed out class 10 with a decent score, and these are things that is giving me peace and relief at this point of time. I lost my mother-in-law also meanwhile due to COVID complications. Another thing that I want to place here is this statement that often I get to hear, and my friends also get it, whether we should take it as a compliment or a trick. It's up to my friends. People often say women are emotionally very strong. They're superwomen. They can do anything. Earlier, I was so stupid. I really was so fond of this compliment. Somebody saying me superwoman, strong woman. I liked it. But now I'm sorry. It seems to be a trick to make the woman go through hell and deprive her from the support, the emotional support or mentoring. I take it as a trick, and people who tell me this, I just keep note of it. I don't say anything, but this is what I would like to tell my friends. Don't get into this trick of being a superwoman. We are all ordinary humans, and I also long to be a very ordinary human. Now, the thing is that I have decided, it has been nearly 1 year, 9 months now. I'm working on myself, on my healing. I have again started wearing my clothes. I enjoy dressing up, as you can see, the most overdressed up person in this. I'm trying to enjoy the things that I used to do earlier. I was writing a weekly column in an online global magazine. They have asked me to write again, but I haven't been able to start. I was fond of painting, but I haven't been able to start with that also. But I hope I will get started very soon. I urge all my friends not to think that life is over. Just another new phase has started. We existed before our marriage also, right? Good or bad, whatever marriage, we existed before our marriage. Now we have got grown-up kids, they're our friends, so let's start life again. As I have narrated, my clan is very notorious for longevity. My grandmother, in spite of so much of trauma, lived after 94 years. My father, by grace of God, is now 84 years old. I tell to myself, if God wills, and by luck and chance, I survive till 80, the movie of my life at 80 should be one that would be worth watching. I don't want it to be another sad old saga of a broken woman. This is a promise to myself. So I want to say yes to a zestful life. I want to say yes to happiness. And I tell myself, I fall, I rise, I make mistakes, I learn, I get hurt, I bounce back. I'm not perfect, I'm human. I have confidence, I have faith. I will continue putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward. For me, that is what a strong woman is for. We don't have to be pretentious. And most importantly, the chariots of my life is owned by me. It's up to me how I live the rest of my life. Let me work on it. I don't appreciate to be dictated, to read scriptures and be enriched with ancient wisdom. I respect that. I have time for that. In fact, I have all the books ready with me. But no, I won't be a monk at this point of time. I intend to play my innings well, just like those test cricketers. When they get a duck set in the first innings, they play better. So I promise to myself that yes, whatever happened is unfortunate. I may need a little more time for complete healing. Maybe I'm healing, but yes to life. And that is what I want to say. Let's live, let's love, let's spread light. Thank you so much.
Outstanding, Hemashri. I mean, that calls for a standing ovation. I mean, outstanding, fabulous.
Seriously.
And
Absolutely
just before,
brilliant.
yeah, thanks. So before I call Sujata, I just want to say this should be filmed also. I know you're right. I think their calls, there's something, it's the way Archana started Proud Depressive. I think there should be something about women who face loss of this kind. There should be something more. I think we should have more discussions, more openness, and more talks about this also. But thanks, and I'm just going to bring Sujata first before we go into the questions. We'll do it, in between this. So, Dr. Sujata.
Hello. Hello, Nita ma'am.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. So, firstly, it was wonderful listening to you, Hemashri Baido. As always, I happen to know you personally, and I have said this to you before, and I will say this to you again today. I know that you do not like when someone calls you a strong-hearted woman and a strong lady, but I am not calling you strong only because you have endured such a ferocious battle. But whatever I know you of, the little interactions that we have had over the year, I believe that you are a person with integrity. You are unapologetically yourself. You always stand your ground on your values and your opinions. You do not let anyone compromise on your principles. And on a very, very personal level, these are traits that I personally admire in you. Whether you acknowledge it or not, okay,
Thank you so much.
whether you acknowledge it or not, but I'm very, very serious when I say this. And I know how tough it must have been for you to come today and let your story out on a platform like this. But the fact that you had the courage and you spoke so beautifully, I think it touched all of us. So, okay, so I'll just start with the session. So, loneliness. So, what is loneliness? We see loneliness. It's a very complex human emotion, and the experience of it is going to be unique for every individual. We all must have felt lonely sometimes. It is a very, very personal thing, and probably we'll all have our own different stories to tell in this regard. Is loneliness absolutely bad? Is it absolutely a negative emotion? Is it something which you should be avoiding? I believe that it is not bad all the time. Probably loneliness is brain's way of telling you that something somewhere is not going on right in your lives. There's something missing from your lives. You are not being fulfilled, or you are not getting everything that you need. So it can be a signal for us to have a deep introspection, to have a thorough checkup done on our personal and our professional lives, to reflect on our social needs, and to do something, to take active steps in order to improve our existing relationships. So probably loneliness is not bad all the time. Now, what is loneliness? What do you mean by it? Okay, because that's very important to
Oh yeah.
understand. Because for many people, loneliness is feeling empty and feeling alone. I'm going to put stress on the word feeling. Okay? Because
Yes.
it is not necessarily about being alone. Because many people confuse loneliness with being alone. See, you can be alone. Let's say you happen to be in a new city, you don't know anyone, let alone have friends, and yet you may not feel lonely. Again, you can be a socialized. You can be a very social individual, lots of friends on Facebook, Instagram, so many followers, and yet you may feel isolated, as if you are not in tune with the people around you, as if you lack companionship. So this is what loneliness is. You know, you can attend a party where you know everyone, you know, but even then, you'll feel left out, as if you are not visible to the crowd. That is what loneliness is in reality. So probably I believe loneliness is not tied to the amount and the number of social interactions which we have, but it is more related to the quality of relationships that we form. Again, here I would like to say that it's very natural and it's a very human thing. It's very innate of us to long for human companionship, to long for interpersonal intimacy. There is nothing wrong in it. Humans are social beings. We are far more social than the monkeys and the chimpanzees also. And that holds true even for people who are lonely. Okay, even they crave for human companionship, even they want social networks. But that is where the problem lies. That is, you know, they are not able to do it as smoothly as anyone else. Social disconnectivity is a very defining phenomena of loneliness. Why does this social disconnectivity become so prominent in people who suffer loneliness? Now, let's say if you are going through a very, very lonely phase, there'll be certain changes coming up in you. You'll become very fearful, very self defensive, very guarded, very sensitive to being rejected, to being hurt, that inner critical voice inside of you, uh, that is going to give you a nasty list of reasons to not come up to people and tell that you are lonely. And often, because of yourself, or because you are being too hard on yourself, because of your inner critical voice, often you tend to drive away people who might actually want to help you out on very, very genuinely, who might actually want to be a part of your journey. And that puts the individual with loneliness in extreme distress because they know what it is that they are looking for, but they are not able to find the way out. There's no way out, and that is why when we talk of loneliness, it is often perceived in very bad light. It is considered to be a negative emotional response. Now coming about, yeah,
Can I say something here?
yes, please.
You see,
But I can't hear you. You're
Yeah, you're muted, but I'm also hearing a dog barking somewhere. Is there somebody else's mic on?
That's my mic on.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. What you have stated in the very beginning, that loneliness is not always negative. I have been a strange mixture of being extrovert and introvert. I appeared very bubbly, cheerful to the world outside, but deep within, I always had some kind of loneliness. Say, for example, in my workplace, I end up being very proactive, and often it really doesn't go well with a lot of people, you know. It creates a kind of loneliness when you differ with majority, kind of. And I feel loneliness is not always dependent on with whom you live or not. People, married couple, may also feel lonely, you know. Or another thing is that at the end of the day, basically everyone is lonely, isn't it? And how my effort would be that loneliness should not always be painful. How can we convert it to maybe solitude? And I don't agree that this word has got entirely negative connotation. That's what I wanted to add to whatever you were saying.
Yes, ma'am, exactly. Because often when we talk of loneliness, there is a negative tone to it. It is not really considered healthy. But if you, it actually depends upon the time you have been in that phase. Is it for a short period of time or is it for an extended period of time? How has it affected you? I think that is what makes all the difference. Now,
Actually, my loneliness was, as I have said, that this person was, I was very strongly bonded with. I had great faith upon every major decision I would like to take. His kind of, yes. So suddenly his disappearance, this lonely has another element, kind of a fear, unknown fear. Like I was there for him for one long year. Sometimes I feel if something happens with me, how my young kids would take care of me. And I have talked to other ladies who are single parents. This loneliness with some element of unknown fear is there. In majority of ladies that I have interacted with. Maybe with time it subsides. Maybe it takes a bit of more time.
yes, because Baidu, it is said that we are often fearful in the initial stage. We are often fearful because right as we grow up, there is no rule book to loneliness, and we feel that there's a particular way to behave when you are lonely, especially when you become a widow after you have lost your husband. Okay, people believe that you're supposed there's right and wrong into what how you are doing things. You shouldn't be doing things this way. This is how you need to be behaving. So that is why it becomes all the more very difficult for the person who is actually going through the phase. Loneliness, the experience of loneliness is going to be different for everybody. One size does not fit everyone. Okay,
True, very
so
true.
there are many people, very your friends, your family members, because you happen to mention this. You'll have friends, family members, and everyone giving you very well intentioned advices that you go for meditation, you take a break. You happen to say me the other day that someone even advised you to read Gita. Okay, so people are going to give you such advices, but people give you such advices because they do not know what you are going through. Okay, they believe that it's going to be for a phase. Probably after 1 year, with time, everything is going to be all right. And you are compelled to think in that manner. So after 1 year, after 2 years, if you feel that why am I feeling lonely now? I should have been strong by now. So many years have gone by. That becomes even more difficult for you to digest. What is wrong with you? Emotional ups and downs, it is a part of your loneliness journey. Whether you lose a spouse who has battled a long, enduring physical illness or you happen to lose it all over sudden, it is very devastating for the person concerned. No one is prepared to be a widow. I'm using the word widow, I'm very sorry because there's no alternate
No,
word to
no,
it.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It
because there's no
exists.
alternate. Okay, please let me know if there's a word. Uh, so because no one is prepared to face this, okay, so it doesn't really matter how long the illness has been, it happened all of a sudden. It's a very devastating truth for anyone. Your life, all of a sudden, your life is turned upside down. You do not see anything ahead of you, no direction. What am I supposed to do right now? And then you have got all these people coming to you and giving out all good and sweet advices. It just looks like, oh, it's going to be an easy way. I can snap out of it. Probably I should give myself time. Probably it will take 6 months or 1 year time. After that, I will be adjusting. Life never comes back to normal. When I say normal, normal like earlier, normal like your past. Life is not going to become absolutely normal. Somewhere you blend in yourself with the reality. That is what happens. You learn to adapt yourself to the surroundings. So it's not that do not be compelled, that life has to become normal. I have to become absolutely all right. Emotional ups and downs are going to come, and that is a truth for anyone who goes through loneliness, especially after losing their husband. Today, the topic loneliness, myths, and reality, and about the coping part. I'm very thankful to the individual who came up with the idea, who came up with this topic. I do not know, probably Lisa Baido. Why is it so important to address this topic? There are certain notions which we hold on to. These notions stem from the social stigma, and these very notions, they affect our thinking, they affect our attitude towards our own self. Often, even as a doctor myself, I happen to tell my patients that if you are going through such a phase, you need to come out of it. You should let out your inner distress. Do not just repress your feelings. It's going to torment you more. But why is it so much difficult for the people to come out and speak out their mind? Where is the difficulty happening? Fear of being judged, fear of being blamed.
Yes.
Okay, probably I'm having, these thoughts come to your mind. We all have these thinking patterns deeply ingrained in us. Probably I'm having adjustment issues. Probably I do not know how to adjust. Probably I do not know how to make new friends. Why should I bother someone else with all the problems and troubles of my life? Am I that bad? So these thinking patterns are so deeply ingrained in us that if ever you are to go through a phase of loneliness, rather than doing something about it, we isolate ourselves even more to the point that this emotion or this feeling engulfs us entirely. That is not right. I'm not saying that if you ever go through such a phase, you should, talk out, talk your mind out to anybody and everybody whom you meet. Because probably a lot of people will not be able to empathize with you. Sympathy and empathy is different. A person who is lonely doesn't require sympathy. They require someone who is going to understand their situation from their eyes. So do not talk to anybody and everybody about how you're feeling. But again, saying that, it is also very wrong if you shove yourself so deep into the shell, you start repressing your feelings to the extent that it starts to engulf you. Even that is wrong. So you need to find a middle way out. And if you feel that I'm not being able to, this is becoming a little bit difficult for me, I do not know what to do about it, I do not have any close friends to talk to, or probably I feel that nobody is going to understand my state, then talk to somebody, talk to a mental health professional. I think we kind of look at patients in a very unbiased manner. So somewhere we are going to help you out, in some way or the other.
Actually, here I have something to add. When I look back, I have been able to do all my work pretty well. And at one point of time, when I was with him going through this struggle, I thought that probably I won't be able to work again. But the moment I sat in my chair, I forgot everything. And I started working with as much zest I used to do earlier. So this sense of loneliness, I don't know, probably it will be there in some way or the other, but it has not affected my functioning. And I think I have overcome that phase where I would need to be counseled for this problem. I have learned over this period of time, I have been now gradually able to handle it as part of my life. And I'm working on it. Like reviving things that I used to do earlier, talking to people who have gone through a lot. I can relate to them more than before. So that's what I wanted to add here.
Exactly, Baidu. It's not something which you're going to come out of it very soon. Had it been that probably United Kingdom would not have had a minister appointed for loneliness. Even I did not know about it. Very honestly, while I was browsing the topic, that is when I got to know that in United Kingdom there is a minister to combat this big issue over there. So that's how severe loneliness is. It is not there's no easy and quick fix to it. Yes, we do give advices as such. Even I do personally. That you should take out time, focus on yourself, go out with your family members, talk to your friends. It sounds very easy from my end to give out such advices, but for the person sitting on the other end of the table, that person realizes, that person knows that probably that is going to help them out, but the journey is not so smooth. It's not so easy as it looks like.
Very true.
Okay, so when you're going through loneliness, solitude, because Baidu had talked about solitude, Many people do not know what loneliness is and what solitude is. If you're feeling lonely, it is solitude that you should be going after. Okay, solitude is the me time which we all talk about, that personal space which we all need. It is all about spending time with your own self. Understand that solitude is voluntary. Okay, and it is a very positive thing also because it helps us to better focus on the tasks which are at hand. It helps to recharge ourselves. It's all about finding the balance within ourselves, being comfortable in our own skin, being intimate with our own minds. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is when you know that there's something not right, something that's missing from your life. And if you are going through loneliness, it is solitude that you should be going after. Because solitude is said to be very desirable. It is said to be a very constructive and positive engagement with your own self. If you do not have solitude, let's say you are so busy that you do not have time for this me time, then that is going to be very bad for your overall health. It's going to be very damaging. Why? Because if you do not have that me time, you will not be aware. When I say aware, aware on a very deeper, intimate level. You will not be aware about your inner thoughts, about your inner emotions, and that is going to affect your judgment and the actions that you take. Because I have started with solitude, it is the COVID-19 era going on. There are certain restrictions imposed on us. Most of the time, we are homebound, especially in the last 1.5 years. It would not be wrong to say that we had too much of me time or too much of solitude, if I use this word. But that is not solitude, that is imposed solitude. It is not voluntary, it is involuntary. And imposed solitude can actually lead you to loneliness. Another term which people often confuse and use interchangeably with loneliness, that is isolation. Even Baidu use this term. Isolation, it is just a state of being physically alone. It can be by choice. Let's say you're preparing for some exam. Mostly it happens in the UPSC, APSC exams, that you that you cut yourself off from the external world. You are all living alone, you are physically alone. It can be by choice and that is all right. But at times you have to be aware that if you are isolating yourself, underlying, deep within, you may actually be suffering from a mental health condition because often people tend to socially isolate themselves. Even many people, when they go through phases of, let's say, depression, or if you have a psychotic episode also, you tend to socially isolate yourself. So isolation can be by choice, isolation can be because of the because of the situation you are in. Let's say you are old because of failing health or because of lack of transportation or because you cannot move to different places. So if I have to compare isolation and loneliness, loneliness can be called a very painful isolation. So isolation, loneliness, solitude, though used very interchangeably, these are different terms with different meanings attached to it. At the very beginning, I said that you need to. Loneliness is about feeling alone. The stress is on the word feel. What is feel? Feel is an emotion. So often people also believe that loneliness is only an emotion. No doubt, yes, loneliness is an emotion. I agree to it. Loneliness is a very painful emotion. But emotional pain can have similar effects on your body, can have similar effects on your system as physical pain. You have to understand that because often people, when they are going through such a phase, they physically report being in pain as if their survival is at stake. Your you start to breathe faster, your heart races, then you start having a sleep disturbances. Either it can happen that you are not sleeping for days altogether, or if somewhere you do not have good sleep, you'll have changes in your dietary changes also come up. Like you may have a diet which is higher in fat, there can be carbohydrate cravings also. It can happen that you did not do anything tiresome the whole day, but you feel tired, you feel fatigued all the time. You do not want to get up from the bed, you do not want to exercise. So the self-care that we talk about often, this self-care, it doesn't become one of the important areas in your life. It somewhere takes a backseat. And that is very normal again. You have so many emotions to deal with, so many things going on in your mind that self-care, it doesn't become an issue that you actually focus on. When you do not have self-care, when you stop looking after your physical health starts to suffer. Your organ systems start to suffer. So understand that loneliness, do not limit loneliness to just being an emotion that you are going through. Okay, because I talked about loneliness being an emotion, there are many people who also believe that loneliness is a mental health problem. Firstly, loneliness is not a mental health problem. It is a phase. Okay, so it's not that, but yes, it throws you, or you have a long period of mental health issues coming up. Like you may go through depressive states, then anxiety, your stress levels are going to go up, you start having sleep changes. So the biological changes, biological functioning of your body, that is completely altered. But understand that loneliness can have dire physical implications also, which many of us do not know. Um, I'm just going to read out what the reports and the studies have to say. Now, according to one review of 23 studies, they found that people who suffer from loneliness, they have a 29% higher risk of coronary artery disease. Coronary artery disease is a heart disease, and they have a 32 higher risk of stroke, of suffering a stroke. So overall, if you look at it, if you are lonely or if you are socially isolated, then you are 30% more likely to die before your age. That is because loneliness also affects and alters your brain functioning. It affects your aging process. And that is how you happen to die before your age. So understand that besides being an emotion and having mental health implications, loneliness goes beyond that. If you look at it very holistically from a very wide angle, it has got physical implications also. It affects your overall health. Okay. Again, there are many people, as Baido has again said, that when you lose your spouse, many people consider loneliness to be a very normal thing. नहीं, ये तो होगा कुछ दिनों के लिए. After some time, everything is going to be all right. Especially if you are a middle-aged lady, or if you happen to be in your, if you are after 60. So if you are an aged individual, or especially if you are in your middle ages, many people believe that it's going to, you feel lonely for a while, you'll grieve, but then things will come back to normal after a while. Now, many people misattribute a lot of things, a lot of emotions that you go through during this phase of loneliness. It is misattributed to just a small event that has taken place in your life. Events, any event that takes place in your life, be it small, be it big, it can have a lot of, how it affects you, it's going to be different for everyone. So do not make it a normal phenomena. Do not normalize it. Yes, it is normal to grieve, but as to for how long you have to grieve, what is the duration, when you should be adjusting to it, there is no rule book for that, and you have to understand that. Often, when people they, especially if you have lost your husband, you lost your parent or anybody, just a second. Often people become very hard on their own selves. It's very important to realize that you be easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Show some compassion. That is very, very important. We all have that critical voice telling us that we are wrong, probably we shouldn't be behaving this way. What will people say? When I'm talking to my kids, I shouldn't be talking about my husband. It might have a negative effect on them. There are so many things. So you have to limit this negative self-talk. That is very, very important. Be kind to yourself. Take it easy on yourself. Take your good time to acknowledge the situation that you are in. and to come out of it. Probably coming out of it will not be so simple. It will be a very long journey of ups and downs. It can happen that today I feel very, very good, and then all of a sudden tomorrow I'm not being myself. It is very normal to happen. So be very easy on yourself. Next very important thing I would like to say is that connect to people in reality. Because often what happens that if we are having a bad day, or sorry, if we are having a very good day, or we have been to some outdoor places, maybe a resort or something, we just take a pic nowadays, we post it on social media with some big lines underneath the photo. That is okay, that is fine, we all happen to do it. But why not call your friend up and tell about your experience? Or why not invite someone for lunch or dinner? Because you are happy. Share it out in reality. That is again very, very
Yeah, true.
important. Do not limit yourself to only that small stream of social media. Again, because I have said that often dealing with this phase, certain thoughts creep into our minds, certain negative thoughts that what if probably I am not right, probably I am not wrong. You have to understand this that your thoughts lie at times. It's very important that you investigate your thoughts. You have to challenge your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Your thoughts are going to come from the environment you live in, the people whom you meet. Let's say you work in an office where your boss continuously happens to tell you that you don't know anything, you're hopeless, you're worthless. It's very natural of you to think that, yes, probably I'm hopeless, but that is not true. So your thoughts can lie at times. Okay. So be aware of that fact. Do not give in or do not submit yourself to your inner critical voice. That is very wrong. We investigate them, challenge them. Only then you're going to find your way out. Again, especially after losing someone or after losing a husband, many people believe that companionship does not complete you. Again, that is very important. There are certain don'ts also. Don'ts of what you shouldn't be doing after you have lost a spouse. Because there are many people who believe that, probably I should get busy. They try to distract themselves. That is wrong. Being busy is fine, but if you are doing busy, if you are going to be busy only because you want to get rid of this emotion of the phase that you are in, you don't want to concentrate on it, then that is not right. Do not become entirely busy. It's absolutely right to go out, look for a partner. It's absolutely normal again because we are human beings. But do not believe that companionship is going to complete you. That is wrong. Companionship does not complete you. Figure out. Take your time. That's the one thing which I have to say. Take your own good time and realize that there is no right and wrong. So how you deal with this phase. It is your journey. Deal it in your way, however you find it right. That is very important to realize. But there's something to say, I believe.
Yes, Sujata. One point I wanted to clear
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel loneliness. You become a victim of loneliness
Yeah.
because it's not a disease. That's what you said. It's not a mental disorder.
It
But
is not a
slowly,
disorder per se.
but you slowly accept yourself as a victim of loneliness,
Yes.
something that is bestowed on you by God or by society. Uh, that is something, hits very hard in the core of the person who suffers from loneliness. That's what I feel. Why don't you throw some light on this?
Yes. But
A
whatever
victim
the,
of, yes, victim of loneliness. You
you,
victimize yourself because, like,
no,
see, I feel lonely. I'm
yeah.
feeling it inside. I think I want to get rid of this. I don't want to be victim of this. So how the person will help himself or herself with this
Uh,
kind of feeling?
yes, Friday. What you said that often people believe that I have become a victim of
Yes.
loneliness. This is
Uh-huh.
suffering, something that I am suffering from. Now, we often feel that we become a victim of loneliness. That is again because of the myths which exist in our society. At times, it is people who compel us to think in that direction. Because that is what I have said even before. It is like we believe that there is a time frame to it. Everything should be all right with time. Time heals all the wounds. That is a very popular saying again. But that is not the thing with loneliness. You have to give yourself time. You have to take it very easy on yourself. And taking easy on yourself, again, it sounds very easy when I say it from my end. But for the individual who is going through this phase, it is not going to be easy. That is why I keep on telling that you have to give yourself some time. And probably with time, you are able to figure out your way. Many people,
I just
yeah,
Sorry, I just want to say one thing. We have 7 or 8 minutes, but I want to say
yes,
that what Lisa's question is actually Hemashri's life story tells us that
exactly.
she has challenged it, and the way she's done it is exemplary. Sorry,
Exactly.
I just want to.
That is what even Himashri Baidu said, that it took her a lot of time. Some days were very good, but there were days when, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, she was not feeling herself. She even mentioned that I had panic attacks all of a sudden. So your journey is not going to be that smooth. Okay, understand that. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, and you have to sail through. You have to be mentally prepared for it also in a way. If you know what lies ahead of you, then it becomes easier. Okay, then it becomes easier for you to sail through it. Often what happens is that we are conditioned to think about loneliness in a particular manner, and that is what affects ourselves even more, and that is why we believe, we are forced to believe that we are victims. But no, we are not victims. It is a journey. It is a process. So give it time, take your time, and figure out your own way. If you feel that acknowledging the fact that I am lonely, even that becomes very, very difficult for many people. Because often people say that, oh, you are so strong, you have such strong coping skills, or you are in a such good post, probably in government service. You wouldn't feel you should be able to cope up with this. It's just a phase. But then it has got nothing to do with how strong you are. You may be a very strong individual from within, but even then it's going to be hard for you. So when society makes it that hard for you, the journey itself becomes very difficult. So that is why you need to clear out some myths for your own self. That everyone's journey is going to be different. Just because my friend, probably who had lost her spouse, she is doing so well. You tend to compare also. Even comparison doesn't help. One size doesn't fit all. I keep on telling this. A lot of factors come into being for how long the marriage was, how strong the marriage was, even Baidu talked about it. Then what is your economic condition at the moment? Do you have children, or what is your social support system? So many factors are there in place which you have to look into. So do not share your feelings, but do not compare. Comparison is bad. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone's timing to come out of it will also
Yeah,
be very
sure.
different.
Sorry, Sujata. I'm just going to just stop. You pause for a minute because I want to
Yeah.
read out the in-call messages that are showing, and that won't be fair if I don't read them out. So just a quick one. So somebody has written reality check. It is these are real life experiences and happening all around us because I have seen it also. We all see it, and the stigma of widowhood is as bad as the stigma of depression, or probably worse, because we are living. You have to live with certain expectations of your new state, and so one has to be aware and be financially independent. These are important, yes. And bravo Hemashri, superwoman again, I must say, no matter what you say and do, yeah. It is a superwoman is a stigma also, I would say, because I have faced that. So NGOs, associations do their bit, but as individuals, what are the two things we should do to create more awareness about, to understand this issue about being a widow or a widowhood, as these have, there are different ways different cultures deal with it, I guess. So what should we do as individuals at personal levels? And for that, I think Hemashri's story is fantastic, and I think you should write and speak more often. I'm going to invite you for my gender study group in Ireland anyway to be a speaker. So, well, one of the comments you made was authenticity of a personhood is core, and I agree with that completely. Then what was the yes, widowers do suffer lesser than widows in Indian society. Extremely right, and thanks for bringing that up. In traditional families, widowers are encouraged to marry again. This disparity should be addressed more, and that's very true. And then again, outstanding, bravo. मंजिलें लपक के तेरे पाँव चूमेंगी, अदाब. जिंदगी की राहों में दो कदम तो चल तन्हा. Strong women, strong woman. Nothing but respect, Hemashri. Empowering talk. You narrated your story beautifully. It was like walking with you through those years, especially the little details about children, how the children cope with it, with this battle which is numbing. And yeah, loneliness as being excluded and solitude as a choice in most cases. I had a question, panic attacks, trauma be linked to loneliness. I think Dr. Sujata was kind of talking about that because I have been through that. Great session, got to go, Hemashri. Okay, that's Tulika again. Your story needs to be heard, and I agree with that. We need to share this more openly because this is fabulous. You have opened Pandora's box, and we as women have to talk about it. Yes to life captures it all. Good angle, normal to breathe, but how long to breathe? Thanks. Yeah, just keep breathing till your time's up, my dear. Man, I have seen the struggle of Hemashri Baidev, and the way she handled the things makes her a strong, daring woman. Proud of you, Didi. Recently, I lost my mommy and undergoing similar phase. Hemashri Di keeps on guiding and motivating me, and that is the beauty of it. You know, your life is exemplary, and as many of us have spoken in our own context, and all the speakers before us, these are real stories. This is life. This is normal. This is life. But thank you for that, both Sujata and Hemashri and Lisa and everybody else. So, any other questions? Anybody wants to come in? You're welcome.
Archana,
Yeah.
Archana is not talking today. Why?
No, because I'm spellbound
Oh, okay.
by
yes,
my
yes,
joint
we are.
secretary.
Yes, 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 yes.
So you know how I met Hema? Hema I met on Facebook, and I thought an 18-year-old girl had sent me a friend request. So that is how Hema is to the world. And later, till many days, I thought, okay, I was, in conversation with a little girl. And then one day she sends me, ma'am, I am an Assam Civil Service officer and I am a Joint Secretary level officer. I was so shocked. But that's so beautiful about Hema that, she still retains her childlike innocence. And even in her work, she gets so worked up when, some pensioner is not getting helped or when somebody's, some salary is stuck like Lisa's. She gets violent almost. So I keep telling her, have patience in government, things move on at their own speed. So despite suffering personal loss, what I admire about Hemashri the most is that she has not let her personal loss come in the way of, feeling a lot for the people who are at a more disadvantageous position than her. She has a big, generous heart. I mean, so many times I've whacked all her earrings, Whenever she's worn a earring, I've said, ye bahut sundar hai, she immediately gives it to me. So she has a very big, generous heart, and as Tulika said, that, yes to life is very important, and she is very gritty, and I'm sure that, she will slowly and certainly, I mean, this is some kind of a loss which, as Sujata said, cannot be compensated ever. But she has the grit to move on, and she also taught me one very good, phrase which I keep giving in my motivational lectures, that you should never trade authenticity for approval. So that is one thing about her, that she never trades her authenticity for approval, even at the cost of many people, thinking she's a big bully and she's a narcissist. She is what she is. So that's what's beautiful about Hema. But the only thing, where I differ with her, and maybe because I've gone through that, I feel that, maybe she can take a leaf out of my life. That I also had a lot of anger towards people when I was suffering depression. Anybody who said anything, I was like, what do you know? It's my suffering, so what do you know? But later, I have learned to either be indifferent or forgive them or even understand that they are coming from a certain place, which is not your place. So they will have some kind of opinion about you or your situation. So somewhere I feel that, Hema, you can do with a little bit less of an anger towards people who may have been mean to you. Believe me, it works. Forgiveness works. Letting go of the hurt and anger really works. Maybe it will take time for you, like it did for me. I was quite the same initially, but just think that they are coming from a certain place where they are not as enlightened or as you, or may have not gone through the same situation. So it's okay. I think the first step in healing is letting go of the angst that we have within us. This is all I want to say to you. Otherwise, Nita has already given you a thumbs up and invited you for a lecture. I think it was a story beautifully told, Hema. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely right. But
That's
thanks
what.
for that's a very good point, Archana. Just I think it's easy to say, but it's there's a phrase which we use here. Don't take it personally. I mean, we are taking it personally because it's a dig on us. But forgive them and don't dwell on it. Don't cling on that because
I
they might be meaning well. I mean, I've gone through that. They mean well. It's just that they don't know how to say it. It's like when people ask me here, "Where are you from?" And that's a question most migrants hate being asked. What do you think where I am here? I've been here 14 years. I've never been 14 years anywhere in my life. Or my son, who's been here since he was 3. He says, "What? I am Irish. I mean, what do you mean where I am from? I'm from here." So we take it, we get angry, but actually उनको पता नहीं क्या पूछे फिर कैसे क्या how to link with somebody. So maybe that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
I
Any
completely.
last words? Anyone else? Sujata? Yeah, I
No,
think
I
you're saying something.
completely agree with what Archana ma'am just said or advised. I do not know, but letting go part, that is very important because I was having a conversation with Himanshu Bhai one day, and I remember even she told me that earlier the people who used to be so close to us, now everybody is behaving so differently. It happens. Okay, when you are in a transitional phase, you have to realize that you have to learn how to deal with relationships. Do not just push away the people from your life because you feel that they are not going to understand you. No, do not do that. Okay, because probably the people have not been in your shoes, so probably they cannot see the situation from your eyes. They cannot empathize with you. Okay, just let it go. And that's a very important thing. Again, that takes time. That takes a lot of time. But then, if you try, if you want to incorporate it in your lifestyle as part of being you, then that helps you a lot in the life to come, the life ahead of you.
Thanks, Sujata. I'm just going to read Priya Jaipuria's last comment, which I think is a great way to end this conversation today. Hema, your smile is so infectious. I agree with you that your professional work helps you forget the struggles of your personal life. More power to you, girl, Priya. So that's very good. I think it's for all of us, I would say. Thanks.
I also want to
Anything
say,
you want to say, Mashri? Your last words for today?
I think
Can't
Priya
hear
is
you.
trying to say something.
Oh,
No,
is
I
it?
just
I
wanted
couldn't
to
see.
say I agree with Archana about letting go and forgiveness. It helps you also to move forward.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have all these things in you which doesn't help you move forward. You should just work on yourself and I mean not worry about what others feel or think. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it just doesn't let you move forward.
Yeah.
So it was really great to hear your story, Hema. I mean, all the best to you.
Thanks, Priya. Thanks. Hemashri, do you want to say anything? But you're muted. You're muted, Hema. I can't hear you. You're still muted. We can't hear you, Hema.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. The point that ma'am has taken, I have been introspecting on this point. It is very important that tough situations, I keep telling myself I should not grow bitter out of this struggle. I must try to imbibe the learning and try to get better. And actually, I have some kind of allergy towards slow processing, people coming again and again. I'm a little emotional to be bureaucrat, and many of my bosses told me, "You're an activist, not a bureaucrat. Your training is not over." I get restless to relieve people. When an old man is there, my father, I see a reflection of my retired father in an old man. When a single lady is not getting dues, my blood boils up. I know it is not good. I'm going to train myself for that, and that's a promise.
No, Hemashri, I think your blood should boil when an old man or a single woman needs your help. Just make sure that it boils over. You're doing the right thing. Anyway. Okay, this has been a